Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. Happy holidays to you all. I know Christmas is coming up and Hanukkah just finished, so really appreciate everything you all do during the holidays to cover the team and to give our fans and our players and everybody that follows the Bears an idea about what's going on. So definitely appreciate you guys, and with that, we'll open it up to questions.
What were the conversations like with Fluke in passing up the 55-yard attempt? I know that he said that there was about an 8-yard difference from the range he would have been comfortable with in those moments. How do you gauge what Cairo can do considering the weather too?
That's a really, really well thought out, good question, Courtney. It's something we talk about with Flus all the time. Something we talk about before a drive happens. It's also something that we have a lot of practice data on. We have a lot of data, and we know what Cairo's comfortable with going into a game. But that also changes. Weather impacts games, and that also changes as we go into a game. And I think Flus is phenomenal with communication in our process before drives start to let Luke and I know exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it, and we're always in constant communication, like I've told you guys in the past. But again, whether that's when that happens in the players' meeting, everybody does this. Phone goes off. But the finish, Courtney, like we don't know, right? So I start clearing my throat with him. Fine, yeah, fine. All right, so seriously, to get back to yours, Courtney, really, the weather impacts that more than anything, that position more than any other position. So we talk about it, and I'll just tell you our pregame process so you guys get a really good understanding and give you some really good insight. So in our pregame process, we work kicks each direction, and we always talk about a normal kick line where we feel comfortable with a high degree of confidence that we're going to make the kick. That's one element of it. But there's also another element of it that we call a monster kick line, and that is in the half, which you're referring to, in the game situation where we say, hey, it's a lower percentage chance to make it, maybe 1 out of 10% chance to make it. And with wind being a factor, we were actually even outside of our monster kick line. So that communication goes on and starts during the week. And not only do we do it for Cairo, we do it for their kicker as well, because Flus has to call defense too. So it goes from the beginning of the week to pregame, and then it also changes during the game. So if you guys see Cairo during breaks, he'll go out and kick the ball, or he'll go out and kick at the second half, and he'll let us know, and we have a good gauge of that. So it's a really intricate process that evolves throughout the game, and that was the very tough end in which direction we were going. So we were well outside of even the monster kick line.
I was wondering on that subject, Richard, how is it difficult to stay disciplined on that? Or do you sometimes have to fight getting caught in the moment and be like, it's Cairo, let's let him try it?
That's another well thought out question. But that is the reason for the normal kick line and then the monster kick line. So that's the difference, so that you have to stay disciplined and you have to do what's right. Because to even follow that even more, Jay, there are other scenarios that come up that can come into play. Like I discussed last week, that being the toughest, one of the toughest venues to kick in, and that being the number one team in opponent field goal percentage in the league. It's because of things you're talking about and people going outside of their comfort line to try to do that. And you have to stay disciplined. Like they had 2 block kicks, and if you want to do that from way that far, then that's a lower trajectory type ball coming out against the number one unit. So you have to factor that in. And then what you also have to factor in is if you kick into something like that and you know you're well outside your kick line and you're probably not going to get it there, then now what are they going to do? They're going to do what Tobe did, which was outstanding, putting Devin Hester back there versus the Giants, right? Or a second half kick with Nate Vasher, who was here, right? Versus Nedney. You guys remember that, all right? And then now what? You go into the locker room 14-7 instead of tied. So you have to factor in all of that stuff. It's not just one thing that you have to factor in. But that's a great question, and I'm glad you guys asked that.
You have to determine what the other team's kick line is too for defense. Like, how closely do you monitor that kicker in pregame then with the conditions, and not necessarily you, but I mean like the team?
Yeah, we do. We have someone assigned to it. So we have someone assigned to that kicker, just like most teams in the league have someone assigned to the kicker. And we're not only watching their kick line, we're watching their kickoffs as well. So if you notice in that game, kickoffs flew one direction a lot further than they flew kicking the other direction. And really, if you're not on top of your game, you can go out there and make a mistake and you can put your team in a bad situation.
Do you have input into choosing direction in terms of the coin flip happens, you guys are figuring out which way to go to start the game, which way to go to finish the game? Are you involved in that?
Yes.
So with kicks sort of sailing further the other way on Sunday and you guys go in the harder direction in the second and fourth quarter, what factors are there?
Yeah. So what factors? Great question, D. The factors there, or you have to look at what they've done traditionally. They've never taken the ball, right? Win was such a factor in that game that they decided to take the ball. So we thought about it in terms of getting our offense going, getting everything going, and having a winner at our back and playing field position in the first quarter because we wanted to start hot. We wanted to start fast. You know, you just don't know what you mean. You don't know in the second half what's going to happen. Our mindset was offense, defense, field position, first half with the win. Let's go. Since they took the ball, and then in the second half, we don't have the decision.
Yeah.
They do on the win.
Can you explain the illegal downfield on the punt? Because that was new to me.
Yeah, that's another really good observation, Coach. So the illegal man downfield on punt, it was a correct call by the officials. You're allowed, all right, a little grace period in there. Probably they give you a yard or so, but the only men that can release on the snap in NFL, college is different. In NFL, are the two in man on the line of scrimmage. Those most of the time are the gunners, unless it's a funky formation and you got like slot or two gunners over, then it would be your wing on the ball to the other side. So those are the only two guys that can release. If anybody in the core, all right, releases and the official is standing right there, there's two of them standing right at the line of scrimmage. If that guy passes that official before the ball is punted, then it's going to be a flag every time. And our guy was just happy to be up, right? Happy to be up, hadn't been out there in a while, and he didn't get someone blocking him, so they left him free. He's got to have a clock that goes off in his head. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, boom, ball punted, then I release. All right, he knew it right away when he came off the sideline, but that is the correct call. They did the right thing, and I'm glad we have it to teach off of on tape.
With the two punts that Trent was mishandled on the returns, anything common in that thread that you saw or talked to him about that caused those to hit the ground?
Yeah. What the main thing that was common in those two things is notice the direction that they were kicking the ball. That's the same direction that was the end of the half direction, which was the terrible wind swirling direction. But every time we field a punt, we got to beat the ball to the spot, obviously, with our feet there. And we talk about basket closed, basket open. And you guys know we have a tremendous amount of confidence in Trent. He has been phenomenal with that throughout his career. And one thing I know about Trent Taylor, all right, is he'll bounce back because he'll feel like he's backed into a corner. He is a fighter amongst all fighters. That's how a guy that size can play in this league. So I'm looking forward to him playing this week. He's got a look in his eye in the meeting right now like he's a rookie again. And he was really upset about that. He still is upset about it. This morning in the punt return meeting, he was upset, and I can just see it. It's on his face. So yesterday, we just honed in back on the fundamentals. We worked our towel drill again where you put two towels in there, and we make him catch the football with basket closed with tennis balls in his hands. So now that's even more difficult, keeping my elbows tight to my rib cage, and then I got two tennis balls in my hand, and I got to catch the ball. And he caught all of them yesterday. So obviously we We cannot have that happen though. We can't have that happen. We got to make sure we field all balls. Like the ball is the most important thing. And the other thing I'll say about that is what a hell of a job by the defense, to respond in that situation because, that could have been a huge game-changing play, but our guys on defense made a game-changing play. So I really like Tyreek. I liked him a lot when he caused a fumble for us in Detroit and he got the pick in Detroit. But now I love Tyreek. All right, because he had our back. He had the teammates' back, and that's what it's all about. Everybody having each other's back, and if the more we do that, and the more we play offense, defense, special teams, complementary football, then the more wins we'll see. So we just want more of that.
Cardinals obviously have a couple guys that can be dangerous in the return game. What kind of challenge do they pose to you this week?
Yeah, another good question. Obviously, I worked for Jeff Rogers. He's a phenomenal football coach. Taught me a lot of football. They do a hell of a job. Not only in the return game with Greg. Greg does a phenomenal job. He's a elusive runner. He's broken a couple tackles this year. You really got to get him on the ground. He does a great job catching the ball square, good vision, and he has a really good feel for returns, really good instinct. So it's going to be a big challenge for us on kickoff coverage and on on their punt return versus our punt. But I do think our guys are really ready to cover, chomping at the bit because of the weather. So it'll be a good challenge for us, and we got to be on top of our game.
Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
No table for the Christmas tree set up like last year, so that was a little disappointing. This guy right here, he's holding me back. This guy.
Decorating the Christmas tree.
Ask who?
Kevin. Yeah.
That was his gig last year.
Oh,
Ask about it, you'll find out.
it's a good one. All right.
Juan Castillo.
He's really good at it.
I definitely will.
Juan Castillo talked extensively about it, so that's why.
About how well of a job he did? Or this isn't sarcasm, this is real?
Real.
All right, this is good. All right, good.
Seriously.
Luke, when you guys tied the game up, you get the ball back at 17-17. The first play is the toss to Khalil. Lost 5 yards on the play. I'm just curious, philosophically, as you're setting up for that drive, what attracts you to that play? What are you trying to get done?
Yeah, Cole had done a really nice job 2 or 3 times before that of handling the end in the way that they were playing it. And then on that particular one, 95 just kind of, he shot his gun. I don't know if he anticipated or what. And obviously, he's a really good player. That was the only issue with the play. If we're able to get outside that edge, we're talking about a 25, 30-yard run because the rest of the guys did a really nice job of walling and clearing and kicking and getting to the alley. So it was one of those plays where a really good player made a really good play.
It seemed like 95 might have also lined up a little bit farther inside to just get the leverage. At that point, is there anything you can do, or because you're set, you can't? You just kind of lost pre-snap there.
Yeah, no, I think as you reflect on it, we can help Cole with alignment, stance, all that stuff to get a piece. Because in those situations, it's most important just to create some kind of contact, and we didn't get that done. And you don't need a kill block or anything like that. You just need to create some initial contact, and if you do, then the play gets off to a good start. So we just didn't get that done.
Luke, after you watch the tape of the Browns game, how would you assess how Justin Fields performed?
I thought he did a lot of really good things. There were some really cool plays. You think about the keeper throw in the corners and the extended plays that he made. Even the touchdown throw was an incredible play. I think there's a lot of really good things. Yeah, there's a couple things that we'd all like to have back. But on a whole, I thought he did a really good job. He took care of the football. And then the couple opportunities, like we said, that maybe we need to help explain it better to him or whatever, or just him make the play. And then he's capable of that, and he's done that. But on the whole, he did his job pretty good and took care of the football. And that's what we asked him to do.
From an execution standpoint, the 8 plays inside their 5-yard line for Cole's touchdown, what needs to change about the operation?
Them not to have 12 men on the field multiple times will help that too, because that was a chaotic scene, right? That was like you call a play because they have their big people out there, but there's an extra corner on the field, so now you can't run the play. But you're like, why is there an extra corner on the field? Because then there's 12 people. So then now you've shown them your play, so now that play's gone. So then now that was a pretty wild scene. And then ultimately, like, we can't have the false start issue when you're on the half-yard line. Really, you talk about on the whole, take that whole scene. That's we can't have that. We can't go backwards on that particular play. So other than that, I thought the guys did a pretty decent job executing. We missed a couple opportunities, but then again, the guy made an unbelievable play. Of beating, probably the best defender in the league from a sack, and then getting an opportunity to extend that play. Made a great throw. It was an incredible play.
How much
When you look
stretch?
at the fourth quarter drives, the game on the line drives, were you hopeful that when you guys did that against Minnesota, when Justin led that drive in Minneapolis, that was gonna spark something, that was gonna unlock something where you guys would then be better at that going forward?
Yeah, I thought the guys did a nice job this week too. I thought it was a really good job of finishing on the sideline. They're playing a sideline defense, so Tyler did a really good job of kind of selling like he was going out of bounds, getting vertical, and then he got those extra yards. Not sure why they spotted the ball, where they spotted the ball, so we thought we had 5 extra yards. If you look at that, it's kind of a weird. I don't know what happened there. So we thought we were 5 yards away from our kick line, and you end up being 10 yards away from your kick line. So that kind of changed things too, for us in that moment. And so we still had an opportunity to get where we needed to get to. We had 2 really good opportunities. Justin got kind of moved out the pocket just a little bit too quickly, so we didn't get those opportunities in that sense. But in the end, the execution of both of the Hail Marys was really, really well done by our guys, both at the end of the half and at the end of the game. So I was proud to see those guys execute that stuff really well.
Why do you think that that scenario has been problematic for you guys this year, when I'm sure that you work on it constantly?
In what way? What do you mean?
Just times where it hasn't worked out, Tampa, Denver, this week.
Yeah, I think they're all different, right? You take the Tampa, you were backed up, and we had the interception, and you go to Denver where we were moving the ball well, and we had the big penalty that took us back, and then the interception. I thought this one the guys did a really good job of building off what we had done. We had to get big chunks because we didn't have any the timeouts available to us anymore. So that one was a little bit different for this particular situation. Where in Minnesota we had timeouts.
Do you have to factor in time in all of that, though? I mean, it comes down to those fourth quarter drives. 29 seconds, backed up at the 25 in your own territory, 32 seconds. Minnesota, you had a true 2-minute drive.
Sure.
How does that factor into those gotta-have-it situations when you can't control the clock, but, I mean, obviously he has a lot less to work with and the field position doesn't help him?
Yeah, no, that's all part of it, right? That's what, to your statement before about what we've practiced. Flus has put us in all these situations since the time we've been here. I mean, we've practiced it a ton, like you talk about, and you take those opportunities where you got to travel all the field with like no timeouts, and then you have sometimes where you have you're on the 50-yard line and you have 3 timeouts, and how do you want to manage that? Just getting a field goal. So you want to practice all those different ranges of situations, and we've done a great job of giving our guys those experiences. And but those are hard, right? I mean, when you don't have timeouts and you got to travel 75 yards plus or something like that, those are difficult situations, but ones that we know we can attain as we keep getting better.
Luke, what do you hope Braxton takes away from his performance Sunday against Garrett, and just where do you think he's at kind of in his development since coming back?
Yeah, I think Braxton's in a great spot. He played against the best player in the league, right? I mean, let's face that. The guy's a really good player, and I thought he did a really good job most of the game. A couple of times that a guy of that caliber is gonna make a play or two, right? But I think on a whole, the offensive line did a nice job trying to, like you said, they moved him around, right? He had played majority on our one side of our offense. Now they were putting him on the right as well, so they did a good job of moving him around. And so that was all part of it. And then Braxton's an ascending player, so I think there's nothing that he can't take away from this. Is all growth.
How many strategies involved with the Hail Mary in terms of, you obviously were around a lot of successful ones in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
You basically have 3 guys against 7 down there. Is it just a matter of throwing it high and deep and hoping your biggest guy catches it? Is there a strategy in terms of tipping it to someone and like spreading out? Like how do you kind of?
Yeah, no, there's definitely strategy behind it. I think, obviously getting everybody enough time to get down there is part of it. The trajectory of the ball is part of it. Placement, where everybody is in the specific area where you want to throw the ball is important. And then I think the approach part of it is if you can catch it, if you think you can, you go after it. And if you think you can't, then it becomes a tip game. So that's another part of it. And again, another thing that, where I was, we practiced it a lot to make sure we were prepared for it, and we've done the same thing here.
Luke,
There was
vantage
a-
point, what's the key for an offense of finding some bread and butter for short yardage situations, whether it's the sequence that Courtney talked about or some of those other 3rd and 1, 4th and 1s. What does an offense need to do to find something that it can lean on?
Yeah, I don't think necessarily, other than Philadelphia, right? They got the bread and butter for sure. But other than that, I think it's, you know, taking advantage of the situation that you got, right? And, you know, we had 2 really good opportunities this week, and you know, you have those two potential explosives if we're able to handle the situation just a little bit better. But that's both coaching and players. That's both of us together working on those 2 opportunities. When you have premier looks, we got to make sure that we capitalize on them, because we had them. We love the call. We love what we were going after. We just didn't. Whether we wasn't us preparing them well enough, or whether we didn't execute it well enough, both of those things. But as far as bread and butter, I feel like, you know, we've done a really good job of attacking. Minus last week in the DJ one, right? We didn't prepare them well enough for sure on that one.
What did you love about the Tyler call?
There was literally nobody there, and you saw Braxton pancake the only guy that was there. So Tyler gets around the end, and again, that end made a nice play. But if we can coach that up just a little bit better, we talked about how we can make that better, and we will, and we have. And but then you saw Braxton go and pancake. There's literally nobody left. So you're talking about a completely different game if we can get that one done, and the one before, right? I mean, Justin's on the edge, right, and get shoestring tackle away from a 20-yard gain. So, you know, and I get it. We didn't get it. So that's the talk, and it should be.
Luke, what has frustrated you?
I'll come back to you. I'll give them both.
There was a screen that looked like it was gonna hit big if it gets thrown, and Justin kind of threw it away. What kind of feedback did he give you on that for why he didn't get it to, I forget who the back row shot?
Yeah, I think anytime, right, whether it's a pass play, screen play, whatever it is, right, you got to trust what you see, what you feel in the moment, and he did. Something didn't feel right to him in the moment, so he made the safe decision in his mind and threw it away. And we always are going to preach taking care of the football over anything else.
What has frustrated you about the offense this year? What do you look at and say, I really thought this would be better?
I mean, there's nothing out there, honestly, that's sitting there making me feel the way that you just put that. I think where we want to go, we know that we have to execute better, period. More consistently is probably the better way to say it. I think, you know, week to week, one week I come in here and we're saying, you know, executed well. One week I come in here and say we didn't execute very well. And last week we had a really good challenge, right? This defense is real. They've been real all year long, and like you guys said in here in that building, they're really tough. And you know, when you have those challenges and when they're in your face, and you have they're on the attack, you got to be able to man up and execute at a high level. Like Coach talks about, it's fundamentals, technique, and you're stressed out by really good players. You got to be on point with your fundamentals and technique, and we weren't good enough last week in that point.
Why do you think it's been inconsistent?
I think it's just that, right? I think it's just, you know, taking it and like keeping it simple to your fundamentals, your technique, your assignment, your alignment, your assignment key, and your technique. And if we keep it simple like that, stay focused, and not let what's happening in the moment change what our responsibility is, we'll be fine. And I think that's part of the growth, is playing together. I think it's the chemistry thing. Guys are starting to get really comfortable with each other, and so you're starting to see those things pop up that are really cool. And so I think that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that promise, looking for that growth. And if we can hit this thing consistently, I think we're just going to take off and make it what everybody wants it to look like.
Good afternoon.
Seen a lot of outstanding interceptions. Where does the one last week by Mr. Stevenson rank?
That was a heck of a play. I mean, it really, really was. To be 2 guys running vertical like that, and just being instinctive enough just to go break on the ball, and then go ahead and finish it with catching the ball, and then actually making a solid return, which I didn't know he had it in him. But he followed his blockers and did a good job getting to the nearest numbers, and did a good job. But it was a heck of a football play for sure.
What is that, for him to make that play, what does that tell you about where he's at in his development?
Oh, I'm an old school guy, right? So it's every day you got to improve, and every day you grow. And we all do that as people. But as a football player, especially a young player, it's getting positive reps and getting confidence that, oh, I can keep doing this and I can trust my instincts. And so it just affirms the things that, you know, you hope every player has, and you can see the growth. But, you know, every week's a new week. And so, you know, we're going to go right back to it, and we're going to say, all right, how can we get better, even better? What do we got to do next?
I know contract questions are always kind of awkward for coaches, but with Jalen Johnson, you're aware of his situation. And what kind of pride?
He's having a really good year.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of pride do you take in? He's kind of bet on himself.
I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for him because this is a very, very demanding game, and it's a hard game to play. And I've been very fortunate in my career to have been around a lot of good players at different spots, here included, and I'm always just thrilled to see a player have that type of year and to continue and have the mindset. I know his mindset now is to keep finishing strong and keep, playing really high level football. So I'm really happy for him. I'm just thrilled for him.
With the time you've spent around him, what's left an impression on you about just kind of his makeup?
He's really smart, and smart people figure things out. And he's going into his 4th year, right? And so he's learned and understands the game very, very well of football. And what you probably don't watch because I've done this for so long, it's some of the plays that you don't see that aren't a splash play that jump out to me. He knows the route combinations. He understands what the quarterback can and can't do. Even in the Cleveland game, he really didn't get a lot of targets, right? And the way we play our guys is the way we play them. Well, the ball ended up on the middle of the field, so he ended up to the single side. Well, it was a play he almost intercepted. They probably weren't expecting him to be to that side, but that was the design of the play, so it went there. So just that he knows what the mentality of watching what the coordinator calls the route combinations. He watches massive amounts of tape, and he does a really good job. So at the end of the day, obviously he's gifted athletically, but he's really smart.
You've seen guys go into contract years before because you've been doing this for so long.
Yep.
How challenging do you think that is for the player to keep the focus on getting better and not allow that other element to sort of take the course? Because that's got to weigh on the mind.
I'm sure it does, but then again, it speaks volumes about him because he's been able to do what he's been able to do. And he's only missed 2 games, and he's challenged himself to do the right things and take care of his body and do the type of things you need to do. If you want to be a top-tier player in this league, that's what you've got to do. And you've got to take care of yourself, and you've got to study the game.
The big touchdown by Cooper towards the end of the game, Flu seemed to think that ball could have been intercepted. What's on the flip side of that? Joe Flacco made kind of an incredible anticipatory throw where the guy's not even close to being
Joe Flacco's seen a lot of football.
I guess what's the coaching point there to recognize what's happening?
All right, so and it was my position, so I take full responsibility. I got to continue to educate Terrell and get him to understand the angle. It was a over route from the other side. Part of that education for me with Terrell and all these young players, formation recognition. Number 2 is their guy. Number 2 by design is an X. He lined up as an S. And we had talked about it during the week, but it's a young player saying, oh, this is where he's at. These are the type of routes that I might get. That's where I have to do a better job and continue to educate him. He's over there for a reason. He's out of position. So when he's over there, have awareness. Play goes, right? And really, Smitty does a decent job. He gets his width, he drops, and then his angle. He's got to understand his work is going to come to him. He doesn't have to go. Joe Flacco's going to throw it out in front. The last place Joe wants to throw it is behind. He's going to throw it out in front. So just know where your work's coming to you. You don't have to chase it in there. It's going to come to you. And then if you can't get the ball, then you've got to go through the receiver. So that's my responsibility to that player to make sure he understands that.
John, how will you know that Terrell Smith has learned from that? What, in your experience, when a player does it, how will you? What are you looking for the next time? What's the best way to tell that? Yeah, that was a learning experience by playing a young guy making a mistake.
Just seeing him correct it and being cognizant of knowing where that guy is, probably one. Number two, just seeing his drop angle to make sure he's learned how he needs width and depth at the same time. And then the opportunity to make that play again. You know, it'll happen again. It just, you know, if you play so many snaps in football, you're going to get the same thing happening to you again. And with Smitty is such a conscientious guy. I'm pretty sure that he understands how he needs to improve that play.
You coached some great defenses here during your first stint that were known for forcing turnovers all the time.
Yes.
Now you guys are in a stretch where you've forced a ton too. What's the common denominator? Why does certain defenses force turnovers? What's the cons for that?
Oh, a lot of it's, you know, improvement. The rush is better. Travis has done a great job. Obviously, Montez has been a part of that. Forces the quarterback to get rid of the ball quicker. Guys understanding concepts better, playing technique better. Like on Tremaine's that went for a touchdown, it was really TJ, right? So they ran spacing route, and we're in cover two. TJ's going this way. Well, Joe hits his back foot, and he doesn't see what he thought he was going to have right there. So he comes all the way back, and he knows 98's, he's on his way, and the other guys. So he turns the other way. TJ reads it, sticks his foot in the ground, goes. He throws the ball to the what I call the buck route right over the center. TJ hits it, ball pops up. Tremaine Edwards, they do tip drills, they do ball drills every day in practice. That's a result of the drill. Catches it. We talk about returning to the numbers. That's where he went to the numbers. Tyreek does a good job on the block, doesn't block him in the back, does kind of what Hightower teaches, just kind of shields a guy off, touchdown. And you're right, I've been fortunate. I've been here when we had 42 takeaways in a season. I was here when I think we scored 9 touchdowns in a season. But it's those little things that you emphasize every day and you talk to them about every day. That's when those things start to happen, you're connecting with those players. That's my best way to describe it.
How different is Kyler Murray coming off the injury as far as like the mobility aspect? Has that come back for him? And what you
I think he is fast, and he can move, and he does a good job in the pocket. He gets out of the pocket. He had a play versus Atlanta on that last drive to win the game. He must have run 70 yards and gained 20. So I don't know how. I'd say it this way, he looks pretty good to me. And all the respect in the world for him for coming back and putting the time in to rehab it, where it has not shown up as, he's not moving the same as he used to. He's still moving pretty good.
How difficult is it for your scout team, like to be scout team Kyler? Like, is that it, like the challenge of the week?
That would be a great challenge because there's only one of him. And, we'll do drills and we'll try to simulate it as best we can. But, again, at the end of the day, he's still a special player with that special skill set. Everybody happy holidays, right?
Thank you.
Bear down.
Merry Christmas.